Hello, everyone, and welcome to the last in Edelweiss's summer session webinars. I'm very happy to be with you all today. My name is David Oinby. I'm part of the Data Ops and Support staff team. I'm sure I've interacted with some of you at some point, and I look forward to doing so again, but I'm very happy to be with you all today to share how you can access DRCs on our platform and get the most out of that experience when you're using Edelweiss. Just a little bit of housekeeping I want to go over. The session today is going to be recorded, and a recording will be made available at our summer session website, so you can access it later if you need to, or if you have to step out early, you can catch back up from where you left off. It'll probably be about a day or so before it's uploaded, but you will be able to access that session. I want to thank and let everyone have an opportunity to welcome Nikki. Nikki is my colleague on the help desk, and she is going to be supporting our chat today. So if you do have any questions, please put them in the chat. We will make sure to get to them at the end, but that will let us make sure that we have a full record of everything for when the session is recorded and everything is good to go. Now, with that being said, I'm going to turn off my video because I don't think it's particularly useful today, and I want to make sure that you all can focus on the platform itself. So I will turn this off and we will get started. Thank you all for coming today again. Okay, so I'm sure you all are here because you just love DRCs and being able to read copies before they are available on the street. And that is one of the many features that we are very proud at Edelweiss to offer to our readers and our librarians and the rest of the community. There are several different ways that you can access DRCs on the site. The first is this widget that you will see in the upper left, Digital Review Copies. If you don't have this widget on your Edelweiss home screen, you can always go to your Add Widget option. And you can find this under Reviews, or excuse me, not Reviews, Review Copies. And then you would just click on Digital Review Copies. This widget would populate somewhere on your screen, and you can move any of these widgets wherever you like by grabbing this grid icon and shifting it around. For example, I moved this up here today to make sure it was very easy and convenient to find. So you can see this is always activity within the last 6 months. You can tell it was updated today. It defaults to this arrangement of 9 titles. Originally, you can always click more and it will expand the listing. So there you can see quite a few. It is somewhat limited in the widget view. You can't always see everything. You can always make some changes here. I'll go into a bit later, but basically you can apply filters from this, and you can kind of tailor your widget to where you're looking at both the most recent and the topics or subjects that are the most interest to you. The other way in Edelweiss Plus that we can look at review copies is to go to the Review Copies tab up here in your top lane. And this is really, I find, the best way for you to be able to access review copies because it will show you the most information and give you a lot of the refinement tools so you can bury down and kind of really look for what you're specifically looking for and find results that are specifically tailored for your interest. The first option that you have
Hey, David,
is
sorry.
Yeah.
Real quick, just got some feedback that there's a little bit of an echo on your end. I'm not sure if it's coming from your mic or something else, but I'm not sure if you can either switch mics or I don't know.
What I can do.
Okay, thanks.
Is that any better?
That sounds better to me, but yes, people are saying yes.
All right, sorry about that. So you can change what time period that you are looking at in the screen. You'll see that this is set to 6 months. You can go back pretty far. I will say that the number of DRCs that we have available on Edelweiss will produce a maximum amount of results that you can't always load. So I don't know if you would be able to go much past 3 years without hitting that gap. But that is one way that you can sort of start to tailor down your results. You also have these options here, which is how you can quickly look for whatever DRC type most closely matches your need. I know a lot of people like the digital review copies, and that's what we're going to be looking at first. So once this loads, this will be all digital DRCs that we have available on the platform right now for the last 6 months. And you can see here, these are searchable in this top menu here. So if I would see, let's see if we have any new Star Wars titles coming up. Ah, no. All right, but you can see here it did search. It will move your cursor to whatever title you select. You can use ISBN, SKU, author, and title to search here, and it is somewhat dynamic. So if there's not one available in the time frame, it won't let you search, which was what I was running into right there. I'm going to go back because I had not actually seen this one today, but I was interested in seeing the Kurt Cobain one, so I did just search for that. And you can see here, you have a couple of different options. Of course, you always have the option to shelve your DRCs if you want to mark something as that you're anticipating or that you're currently reading because you have the DRC, or if you finished reading, or if you got it and didn't like it and chose not to finish it. You always have those options here. This is kind of your overview for how the DRC is available. There are several different options. For the digital ones, there are really two primary ones. There's a download digital DRC, and you can see that our demo account here that we're using today would use a standard device. You can mark whatever your preference is here, and I'll get into a bit later how you can find out how to set up your specific devices as your preferred format for future downloads, and hit continue, and then it will walk you through the steps of downloading a DRC. If you notice this open book icon, this is a relatively new feature for us. It's called Edelweiss Reader, because we do know that a lot of people are not necessarily interested in downloading to their device. They want to be able to read on the go from their browser. So if you see this option, it does mean that the title is available in Edelweiss Reader. And you can click here. And voila, there's your DRC. You can even see you've got your progress here. It goes page to page. We are looking to grow what is available in the reader. It is a somewhat limited title now, but we're working with our friends of the publishing industries to expand this. And I do want to recommend it to any readers and librarians who are with us today who look at children's books or graphic novels. Those are really image-rich titles that there can sometimes be some issues with when it comes to digital DRCs. And you can always use this as a way to bypass some of those problems and make sure that you can read as much as you want. Sorry, I'm just making sure I hit on everything I meant to cover. And the next thing I did want to cover is how you can tailor this. I have mentioned you can select these options. You can go digital review copies. We do offer print review copies. I will let you know these selections are limited and not everyone may be able to see them because there are not many publishers that opt to make this option available, but it is possible if you see it that you could. And then we do have a similar number of audio review copies. These are digital downloads that I will also share some instructions in the chat for figuring out how you can set up your device to get the audio copies that are available. We did add Edelweiss Reader, so now you can search only for these. And then the other two that are particularly useful here is that you have to download. So these are all titles that are immediately available to read. You don't have to submit a request. You can always tell that by this green bar. And you can see here it's already marked that I have this DRC already available. The other option that you have is to request a DRC. So these are all review copies that you have to submit a request to a publisher. Unfortunately, Edelweiss does not have any input in whether a request is approved or denied. We're just the pathway to get to it, but you can always tell if you see this yellow bar with the hand icon. And when you click on your hand icon, it will bring up for you to submit a request. So there are a couple of parts of requests that are really important. The first is your profile strength. You'll notice that our demo account is rated excellent because we've made sure that we have everything good to go. There is a guide on our website for some tips and tricks for setting up your reviewer profile, but here's just some quick overviews. You want to make sure that you have your name and you have your role. Role is very important because publishers look at to determine what your purpose is for reviewing. And then this description of your role is useful because, like, if you're a reviewer who writes for your local newspaper, you can include something like that so they're aware with it. Or you'll notice here we have we've linked to our blog, Shrimply Books. Librarians, I would recommend if you have any collection, development, or programming responsibilities, make sure you include that there so the publisher is aware of why you're wanting to look at it. We also do recommend sharing your social media accounts, just that way they can see where you may be sharing your reviews and what sort of audience you may have. You'll notice here we have the blog, Twitter, and LinkedIn. You can also link your Goodreads account or your Facebook account if you so choose. And then the other thing is that you can always in Edelweiss make sure that you are looking at what you want to and make it what I like to call sticky in your request. So the great way to do this is to apply a saved filter. You can see we have a couple saved filters here. We have Tor books. This is based on publishers, so you can look at anything from the Tor publishing family. There are several different options that you can use here. There's Edelweiss vendor, which is synonymous with publisher. You could also use BISAC categories under subject. So you can see all these subjects. If there's a specific point of fiction or anything like that that really appeals to you, you could include that there. Do be aware of duplication. So you can have overly complicated filters. In the example of Tor, probably you wouldn't need to necessarily include a genre of science fiction, since that's a lot of what Tor publishes. But if you wanted to look at publishers beyond Tor, you could include science fiction in a new filter to look at everything we have in that genre. If you want to apply these search results after you have it taken care of, all you have to do here is just go to apply your save filter, click on Tor books. Fortunately, there's no results found for 2 requests, but I do see that they have some downloads. And look, there we go. You have everything that Tor has made available in the last 6 months that you could take a look at and see what may interest you. You can also apply this filter to the widget I showed you earlier. If you come back over here to your home screen, that is what this gear icon in the left can do for you. Click here, and you'll see the same save filters. And you can look at the list here as well. That is how you prefer to look at rather than the longer list. It's entirely up to you. Now, I've touched a lot on how you can find and look through these. It's the important part is how you can download them. So I did cover that you can always see this iconography, which is unified across our site, of whether item needs to be requested, used on Edelweiss Reader, or downloaded automatically. I don't want to get hugely into specifics today about how you can download it because we do support a wide variety of devices. What I'd like to do is share a couple links in the chat just to make sure that you have access to this information and some best practices if you're interested in downloading DRCs to your computer or other device. So the first of these is downloading review copies for books. This is a guide on our knowledge base where you can find out what devices we readily support and what are the best apps to use it. We have a breakdown, of course, for Edelweiss Reader, but there are instructions for iPads, iPhones, Androids, Sony readers, computer with Adobe Digital Edition, Kindles, and Nook. We really only recommend Adobe Digital Editions if you are downloading to a laptop or desktop system. We tend to recommend Pocketbook for our Android and iOS users. And I did want to touch on something that is pretty perennial, something that we get a lot if someone is using either a Kindle device or a Kindle app. We have some specific instructions there because there is an extra step that sometimes gets lost in translation. And we're always happy to help you out. But if you know about it, you can be one step ahead of us and go ahead and start reading rather than having to write us at the support email address. If you are using either a Kindle app or Kindle device, just make sure that you get your Kindle specific email address. You can find that by using this guide, and it will show you how to find this information in your Amazon account. Unfortunately, that's not something we can find for you, but most of the time, if someone is having a problem with their Kindle device, this is the step that kind of gets lost. And if you just make sure that you have that associated with your Edelweiss account, you'll be good to go. Most of the time, this is a one-stop shop. So once you get this address, save it as your preferred download, you'll be good to go in the future. But just keep that in mind if you are a Kindle user. Then the other thing I wanted to touch on today I'm sorry, my computer is being a bit slow. There we go, back in action. The other thing I did want to touch on, and one I know that Nikki did a much more comprehensive webinar about earlier this year, is that the last way that you can access DRCs is to make use of our community page. Community is great if you're a reader and you don't need some of the higher tools or higher searching that a librarian or a bookseller, someone like that may need. It's mobile friendly and a little bit more of a user friendly interface, but on that you can always look and see what review copies I have by just going to your books. Here you can see shelves. These are shelves that if you did put together an Edelweiss Plus, you could come here and see the same data reflected. Then you can also, sorry, I have a pop-up in the way. You can also check out some of our genre-specific communities. There we are. Browse by genre. You can see here our complete genre list. This is mostly based on BISAC information, but let's say again you're interested in nonfiction of any type. You can come here and again see all the titles that are available to you with that same iconography if you are a community user. And you can also use your save filters. You can search by title, so Cobain. And you can use this the same as Edelweiss Plus. In terms of downloading to your devices, the instructions will be the same there. That is kind of the end of my planned remarks for the day. I would love to take the opportunity to answer any questions, specifically if there's any sort of functionality that you want demonstrated related to DRCs. I want to make sure that I can get to any questions anyone may have today. So are there any questions that I missed while I was presenting, or any that anyone would like to shout out now in the chat?
Hey, David, there's just one thing I wanted to clarify about the to download and to request titles.
Sure.
That your list of what is available to download versus request may look different than this demonstration, and they can differ from account to account based on the access settings that publishers have set. So don't be discouraged if your numbers are a little bit different in terms of what is available to download versus request.
Yeah, great point. Sorry, I overlooked that, Nick. Yeah, I can say that does happen quite a lot with particularly print review copies. I know publishers pretty closely regulate who can access those. Yes, Kitty, that is included in the link I posted earlier about downloading. We have specific devices for both iPad, iPhone, and Android using Pocketbook Reader. It shows you how to get it from the app or Google Play Store and go from there. So pull that over real fast so you can see it. You can see here we have instructions for either device, and it'll walk you through downloading and setting it up.
David, do you have any, or can you show any kind of tips about how to improve your requester profile?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Let me get over to request. Yeah. I'm looking for a good example. I don't like to talk about if it's not a book or genre I'm really familiar with. So let's just say for Lois Lowry, if I want to submit a request for this, other than making sure that my profile is really up to speed, like if there's anything new, if you are a reviewer and you maintain an active blog, or you have any sort of featured review somewhere, you would want to be sure to include that. It may be, this does follow you from request to request, but keep in mind thinking it fresh. So like if you change jobs, change interests, make sure that you emphasize that here. When it comes to the request itself, I would recommend just being pretty specific to the title and the publisher that you're submitting the request to. Don't try to think this is just a copy and paste. If you can, take a few moments and write up why the title interests you, what you're looking to get out of a review copy. So like if you do reviews a specific genre and you have an established community that you work with, make sure to include that. So you're referencing something that the publisher can understand will possibly appeal to any sort of marketing plan or any sort of initiative they target. If you're a librarian and you're looking for YA titles, or you're looking for a new title for perhaps a new book club in the next year, make sure to include things like that. Like anything that makes your request unique and can speak to the publisher and what they may have in mind for the goals of their title. Does that hit the high points? And I think I saw.
Yeah, I guess sorry, I would just mention too that in that top right of this box, like where it currently reads excellent, if it reads anything other than that, there are other things that you could do to improve your profile.
Yeah, and you will actually not be able to submit a profile if this is marked as incomplete, which if I recall correctly is an orange, and it will flag you so you know that you need to develop your profile strength. And Summer, let me share the link about downloading audio review copies. But in my experience, the issue I found is that sometimes compressed files can be a problem for some devices in unpacking. So that may be the only reason that you want to consider going through individual chapters rather than using the compressed file. But that can be pretty specific to the device you're using. Typically, computers seem to have the least amount of trouble unpacking the compressed MP3 files. Some mobile devices, it can be a bit hit or miss. Reviews can be anything that you want them to be. You actually do not have to receive a DRC to submit a review in Edelweiss. So let's say that you checked out harboring hope from your local library when it came out. You read it without receiving a DRC, but you really liked it and you wanted to make sure that your thoughts were shared. You can go ahead and type a review in here, and you can do this with any title on Edelweiss. If you will just come over here and click your ellipses, this speech bubble icon with ellipses brings up the review module. You can select writing quality, type up anything you would like. In this case, our demo account has some access to some communities, so we can nominate for Indie Next List. You may or may not see that, but do make sure that you share it. You know, it's great. I know I have a Goodreads account that I just keep reviews mostly for my own notes, but if you write those detailed reviews and really good reviews and don't share them, particularly if you don't share them with publisher, it's not going to help you in future consideration for review copies. So if you do want to go the review route and really establish your profile here, I would encourage you to share it as widely and broadly as possible. Does that answer your question? I personally, like the one thing I try to keep up with my own Edelweiss account is I don't know why, but couldn't put it down. This is such a nifty metric. I do like going in and looking at mine for that purpose, if nothing else. Nikki, I'm having some problems getting the QA session to load.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I
see a notification, but I can't. It's
yep,
scrolling
it's all
along.
good. You already answered it.
Okay. Sorry.
No worries. One,
There we go.
I guess, other thing to kind of show, you showed the widgets a little bit, but for folks who are just coming onto Edelweiss for DRCs, either using community or can you just show like how someone might organize their homepage if they're mostly looking for DRCs?
Sure. I can say that simple is better. If you're really only here for DRCs and you're looking at your homepage, of course, the digital review copies widget is a must. Another one that I would recommend is if you wanted to look at recently viewed. This could be if you pick something from a catalog that you could take a look at and see what catalog you looked at. Yet you can also go to notifications, which notifications can be like if you might get messages from publisher about something. And then the other thing I would really recommend are your shelves. So you can add any of your shelves individually, and you can keep track of your highly anticipating titles. You can look there, and if you had one that would come up as being available in review, you could click on it right there, would be my best recommendations for what I use. And then I also tend to, I'm sorry, we're not in my account today. I have a filter that's my favorite things that I just kind of leave on my DRC widget so I can keep track of what is the most interest to me. You can change it at any time, but if you have what you really like and you don't want to miss it all, you can just leave your filter in place on your widget on your homepage. And then if there are any widgets that don't interest you, you can always remove them at any time by going to this X option. So let's say that you didn't want to look at your tags, or you don't really place any orders, so you don't really have a work list, you can just hit your X and then your home screen will be a little bit less cluttered. Right. If there are not any other questions, I do want to thank you all for coming today. It's really been great going over DRCs with you. Don't forget that you can always reach out to us at support.
Oh, looks like there's
I did.
Question.
Yes. Unfortunately, right now, there is not a way to share your NetGalley reviews with Edelweiss directly. It would need to be kind of the lower tech, but still good copy and paste approach. I will drop the link to our summer webinar session in the chat, Kitty, and you can go see this session and any other right there at abovthetreeline.com, Edelweiss Summer Sessions. If you like today's session, or if there's or if you're interested in other topic, I do believe we are planning to organize future webinars. So keep an eye on our website and our social media for when the announcements about those come in the future.